Ganso Earthquake forewarned by ominous signals, authorities concealed and did not report. Beijing Subway experiences another issue, Line 1 delayed due to power supply fault. The rise of 2 Yuan bread shops in China, the public says everyone is out of money. Chinese university graduates turn to street vending, seeking survival. Shaman calls for belt tightening across departments, criticized as a show. It's all covered in today's China Truths. Ganso Earthquake forewarned by ominous signals, authorities concealed and did not report. Regarding the magnitude 6.2 earthquake that struck Jishishan County in China's Gansu province at 23:59 on December 18, causing over 1,000 casualties, reports suggest that a few days prior, scientific researchers in Shaanxi received ominous signals of the impending Gansu earthquake, but authorities concealed this information, resulting in a severe disaster. In more detail, on December 20, the pro-Communist Party Hong Kong-based South China Morning Post reported that researchers in Shaanxi received a text alert on the morning of Friday, December 15, about abnormal data readings from several sensors, indicating an imminent earthquake. The team discussed the possible earthquake location, estimating a high probability of it occurring within 3 to 5 days based on the abnormal data readings, though they couldn't predict the exact location. Professor Zhang Maosheng, dean of Zhejiang University, mentioned that, based on observed data peak intensities, they could predict the earthquake's magnitude to be about 6.27. However, they couldn't predict that the earthquake would occur in a neighboring province. The report highlighted that 4 days before the Gansu earthquake, the research team recorded unusual readings of gravitational waves at different sensor locations in and around Shaanxi. Professor Liu Huaqiang of Northwestern Polytechnical University noted that despite the sensors being in different cities, the abnormal waves were recorded almost simultaneously, indicating they propagated at the speed of light. Building on these discoveries, Li Muyang, host of a self-media program, asserted on the News Focus program on December 21 that the casualties in this earthquake could have been entirely avoided. He analyzed that the researchers must have reported to their superiors, as it was their duty. If they hadn't reported, they wouldn't have clarified the facts through the South China Morning Post, indicating the researchers' reluctance to shoulder blame for the Chinese Communist Party and potentially retaliating against the Xi administration. In other words, after receiving the report from the researchers, the authorities knew an earthquake was imminent in Gansu but suppressed the news and did not inform the public. As for the so-called experts claiming poor building quality and shallow earthquake depth, Li pointed out that these are purely excuses to absolve the CCP of blame. Li Muyang directly stated that if authorities had notified the public to take evacuation measures, people could have sought shelter outdoors, and even a major earthquake with a shallow focus would not have resulted in such severe casualties. He questioned whether this was another man-made disaster orchestrated by the CCP. Notably, less than 24 hours after the earthquake, local officials declared that the rescue work was basically over by 3 p.m. on the 19th. They also claimed there were sufficient rescue forces on site and that forces from other provinces should not go to the disaster area independently. These abnormal actions raise questions about the authorities' handling of the disaster. As previously reported, CCP officials claim that the earthquake caused 113 deaths and 772 injuries in Gansu, with 155,393 buildings damaged. In Qinghai's Haidong City, 18 people died, 198 were injured, and 16 were missing. However, given the Communist Party's tendency to conceal disaster information, the actual number of casualties may far exceed the official figures. Beijing Subway experiences another issue, Line 1 delayed due to power supply fault. On the morning of December 22 at 8:09 a.m., the Beijing Subway, as per its official Weibo account, reported a power supply equipment failure on Line 1 and Badong Line sections from Apple Garden Station to Guqing Station. This led to delays for trains heading upwards, towards Universal Resort. The incident triggered widespread criticism from mainland netizens, who expressed frustration and raised concerns about the frequent malfunctions affecting their daily commutes. Some suggested that a comprehensive inspection of the Beijing subway was necessary to address the recurring issues. The situation follows a recent severe accident in the Beijing Subway. On December 14, 2 carriages of a Chongping Line train detached, leading to at least 515 people undergoing hospital checks, with 102 sustaining fractures. Additionally, on the 15th, an escalator at the Military Museum station on Line 9 was reported to have sunk, adding to the concerns regarding the safety and reliability of the Beijing subway system. The rise of 2 yuan bread shops in China. The public says everyone is out of money. In recent times, 2 yuan bread shops have emerged in various Chinese cities, primarily attracting young consumers. This trend gained attention on mainland social media on December 22, prompting citizens to express their emotions and suggest that everyone has no more money. According to mainland media, the trend of 2 yuan bread shops started in Jinan in June this year and has gradually expanded to other cities in Shandong, as well as reaching Nanning, Kunming, Nanjing, Hefei, and even Beijing's Tiantanjiwen. A college student who purchases 2 yuan bread revealed that almost all customers are students, leading to long queues. A resident of Rizhao, Shandong, mentioned that a nearby 2 yuan bread shop opens at noon, and by the scheduled time, there is already a crowd at the door, like squeezing onto a bus. Some even by 30 to 40 at a time. A Shandong shop owner mentioned that queues for purchases sometimes extend onto the road. The person in charge of a 2 yuan bread shop in Huayin District, Jinan, stated that running such a shop earns hard-earned money. Initially, the owner made 1,500 doughs in a day, becoming so tired that they didn't want to move at night. The trend of 2 yuan bread shops has sparked discussions among netizens, expressing sentiments like it indicates that young people have no money or because we're poor. Some predict the next step is 1 yuan steamed buns and pancakes, and later on, collective begging. One netizen said, "I might as well give up lunch altogether. I really don't have money. After giving it up, I found that the most useless expense is lunch. 2 meals a day, you get used to it. I don't even know who invented the 3 meals a day rule." Another mentioned, consumer downgrading. More and more middle-class consumer goods will revert to their original form. It can only be said that the quality of life is declining. One bluntly stated, "Getting poorer and poorer. If wages don't increase, get ready for a big uproar." Chinese university graduates turn to street vending, seeking survival. Earlier this year, China's urban youth unemployment rate for ages 16 to 24 reached a historic high of 21.3%, sparking intense discussions about the future of the millions of college graduates annually. Despite China's decision to stop publishing youth unemployment data, observers note that this cannot hide the bleak job prospects facing the younger generation. Lu Chang, a 2020 acupuncture and Twina graduate from Hebei University of Chinese Medicine, says that with white-collar jobs becoming scarce, more graduates are forced to turn to the informal sector, with street vending becoming the only means of livelihood amid increasing economic uncertainties. Lu told Voice of America that, in September 2023, I started my stall business as a side job. After finishing work at 5 p.m. on December 18, I rode my food cart to the night market, where many familiar stall owners were already there. The recent cold weather has reduced customer turnout compared to summer, but on good days, I can make 4,000 to 5,000 a month, the same as my monthly salary. I'm better off than many. Finding a job is tough. I interviewed at 18 companies over 2 years since 2020, with some temporary successes, but had to resign and reapply due to low salaries and a mismatch with my major. What I do now has nothing to do with what I studied. Lu joined a community hospital in Shijiazhuang, Hebei Province, in 2022, working in clinical rehabilitation administration. He works 5 days a week plus half of Saturday, getting 1.5 days off per week. The hospital doesn't pay overtime for Saturday work, a rule everyone must accept. Wang Haisheng from Meizhou, Guangdong Province, graduated in 2018 from Luoyang Institute of Science and Technology with a degree in mechanical design, manufacturing, and automation. After graduation, he worked in sales at Luoyang North Glass Technology Company, Limited. However, he left the job after more than a year due to health issues and the pandemic. As a non-local without savings or a house, he couldn't survive in Luoyang and had to return home. He said, "A friend introduced me to an engineering department in a food factory, where I patrolled and monitored fans for 4,000 yuan a month. This job lasted less than a year, as I was replaced when the department leadership changed. Wang noted that graduates with similar qualifications work on assembly lines in the food factory, earning less than 4,000 yuan for 10 to 12-hour days without social insurance or overtime pay. After leaving the food company, Wang tried live streaming to sell plants and seedlings. However, he struggled with the seasonal nature of the business and only lasted one season. Wang emphasized that for Chinese university graduates, the bigger challenge is adjusting one's expectations for the future. Li Ping, a 2012 graduate in Information Management and Information Systems, has been selling shoes and bags at a street stall since 2017. He highlighted the fierce job competition and the reliance on connections, family background, and social circles for job success, leaving many graduates economically strained. Li said, "No matter how good your grades are, it's hard to succeed on your own. It's a society of relationships. Parents find connections to get you a job, and then you maintain those relationships to keep your job. For the wealthy, arts and sports are social tools. But for ordinary families with limited income, what's the use of just being a good student?" Despite government claims, economic hardships persist among graduates engaged in street vending, reflecting broader societal issues. Graduates are adapting to the harsh reality of the job market, where even skilled individuals face low pay and limited opportunities. Xiamen calls for belt-tightening across departments, criticized as a show. In Xiamen, Fujian province, a government notice titled about strengthening budget management and insisting on tightening belts has surfaced online. The document reveals potential pauses in the city's dig and repair road construction, highlighting economic uncertainties and a significant fiscal imbalance. The Xiamen municipal government has introduced regulations on various expenditures, urging local entities to lead in tightening belts. Specific measures include a 10% and 20% reduction in departmental special business and shared expenses in 2024, strict control over 3 public expenses, and a ban on end-of-year spending sprees. Unauthorized construction of lavish buildings and excavation within specified periods after road repairs is strictly prohibited. The notice, issued on December 5, 2023, aligns with the mayor's earlier call to reduce non-urgent expenses. This move reflects a broader trend of government belt-tightening, driven by financial challenges exacerbated by the China-US trade war, strict COVID-19 policies, and the real estate crisis. Minister of Finance Lu Quan emphasized the long-term nature of government austerity measures. Provinces like Zhejiang and cities like Shenzhen have also issued belt-tightening notices, prompting governmental and public institutions to clean up non-staff personnel in response to financial constraints. Xiamen's tightened belts is criticized as a show. Veteran media figure Huang Jinqiu has asserted that this situation signals a profound crisis in China's economy. Huang Jinqiu explained, Xiamen is a city that has witnessed robust economic development in China, attributed to its proximity to Taiwan and the influence of Taiwanese businesses. Therefore, the declaration of tightening belts suggests that fiscal challenges have likely emerged at various levels in China. In the current context of the Chinese Communist Party, where party authority prevails without constraints, they have the freedom to employ personnel and spend money as they please. The notion of austerity is merely a facade, a show to provide the public with a placebo. Huang highlighted that the core of China's fiscal crisis lies in the bureaucratic system of the CCP. When issues arise, they resort to declaring a tightening of belts, but this fails to address the fundamental problems. In CCP's fiscal expenditure, to illustrate, if you budget 100 million and spend 120 million in a year, the following year, your budget might be increased to 120 million. However, if you spend 80 million, your budget for the next year might only be 80 million. Under the bureaucratic system of the CCP, government units have the discretion to spend more or less money, and the answer is evident. A Shaman resident, Mr. Lin, asserted that the government must be short of money, CCP officials are bloated, and corruption is rampant. Too many people are benefiting from fiscal resources. While they talk about tightening belts, they are essentially transferring the financial burden on taxpayers, exacerbating the challenges faced by ordinary people. Don't forget to leave a comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths.